Chapter 3, Coldrock House. Samantha couldn't sleep at night. She pulled the blankets up to her nose, but above them her eyes were wide open. She listened to the swoosh and sigh of the sleet against her window. She heard the passing horses snort and stamp and jiggle their harnesses to shake off the dreary cold. Mostly she worried about Nellie. What kind of place was Coldrock House for homeless girls? Was Nellie all right there? Tomorrow she would see for herself. The next morning at breakfast, Aunt Cornelia said, you look tired, Samantha. Do you feel all right? Oh, yes, I'm fine, said Samantha. I just didn't sleep too much last night. Uncle Gard's face wrinkled with concern. Now, Sam, he said, I know you're worried about Nellie and the little ones. I am too. It's hard not really knowing how they are, or even exactly where they are. I do know exactly where they are, Samantha said quietly. You do? Asked Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia together. Samantha nodded. Nellie and Bridget and Jenny are in an orphanage. It's called Coldrock House for Homeless Girls. It's on 20th Street. Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia were silent. I know because I went to Nellie's uncle's house yesterday, Samantha went on, and a neighbor told me about Nellie. Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia looked at each other. Then Uncle Gard said, Samantha, you went to a dangerous part of the city. Don't go there again. Do you understand? Yes, said Samantha. I'm sorry. I just had to try to find Nellie and the girls, and now I know where they are, at Coldrock House. I'll go to Coldrock House with you this afternoon, said Aunt Cornelia, but it might not allow you in if you're by yourself. Thank you, said Samantha. She smiled for the first time that morning. Aunt Cornelia smiled back. We'll pack a small valise for Nellie and her sisters, she said. I'm sure they could use some warm clothes. Yes, and books, said Samantha. Nellie loves books and pens and paper and cookies, exclaimed Uncle Gard, and sweets. Samantha laughed. You're right, Uncle Gard, she said as she hugged him. She knew he was relieved to know where Nellie and her sisters were too. It was biting cold that afternoon when Samantha and Aunt Cornelia walked to Coldrock House. Samantha followed her aunt up the steps to the stern, unwelcoming building. The building looked as if it had been built out of blocks of dirty gray ice. It was surrounded by a fence of sharp black spikes. Samantha couldn't tell if the spikes were meant to keep visitors out or the orphans in. A pale, pinched-looking maid opened the door when Aunt Cornelia knocked. Would you announce me to the directress? Aunt Cornelia said. I'm Cornelia Edwards, and this is my niece, Samantha Parkington. Without a word, the maid led them to a dark, cold parlor. It was very, very quiet. Samantha couldn't believe the building had children in it. Didn't any of them make a noise? Suddenly, soundlessly, a stout woman appeared. She was frowning. When she saw Aunt Cornelia and Samantha, her eyes narrowed for a moment. She studied her two well-dressed guests, and then she smiled a fake smile. Her eyes widened with put-on delight. How perfectly lovely, she exclaimed, holding her hand out to Aunt Cornelia. Mrs. Edwards, Miss Parkington, how nice of you to visit us. I'm Samantha Fauci, the directress here at Coldrock House. Please sit down. And how may I help you? Have you come to hire a maid or a servant girl? Not today, replied Aunt Cornelia. We've come to see Nellie O'Malley. Miss Fauci looked surprised. Her sickly sweet smile faltered for a moment, then spread itself wide again. That's impossible, she said. Our girls have visitors on Sunday afternoons only, from 3 to 4 o'clock. That's the rule. I'm sorry. She didn't sound sorry at all. This is a special case, Aunt Cornelia said firmly. Nellie is a dear friend of my niece's. We haven't seen her in a long time. I'm sure you understand. Miss Fauci patted Samantha's cheek. Her puffy hands were soft but very, very cold. Samantha did not think she liked Miss Samantha Fauci. I had no idea Nellie had such perfectly lovely friends, Miss Fauci said. She turned to the maid and snapped, Get her. While they waited, Miss Fauci went on. Nellie and her sisters are new here at Coldrock House, and of course, they're still a bit independent-minded, shall we say, but they'll adjust, I'm sure. Our girls quickly learn the rules here. Obedience, order, discipline. Nellie! Cried Samantha. She jumped out of her chair and ran to hug her friend. Nellie, I'm so glad to see you. Samantha? Nellie didn't seem to believe her eyes. Oh, Samantha, you're here. Nellie's face was full of joy. I was so worried we didn't come. I was so worried when you didn't come to Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia's, said Samantha. I even went to your uncle's house to find you and Bridget and Jenny. You didn't, gasped Nellie. Her eyes were wide. How did you ever... Nellie, Miss Fauci interrupted. Her voice was very sharp. Samantha felt Nellie stiffen. Yes, Miss Fauci, Nellie said. We haven't forgotten our manners, have we? Say, how do you do to Mrs. Edwards? Miss Fauci turned to Aunt Cornelia. You'll have to forgive her, she sighed. Good manners are an important part of Coldrock House training, but these rough girls come to us without any idea of polite behavior at all. She held up her hands helplessly. Now Samantha was sure she didn't like Miss Fauci. Imagine calling Nellie rough. She could feel her face grow red with anger, but she bit her tongue as Nellie curtsied and murmured, How do you do, Mrs. Edwards? Nellie, Aunt Cornelia said kindly, we're so sorry about your parents. Such a sad thing, interrupted Miss Fauci. She shook her head and pushed her lips, pretending to feel sympathy. Do you and Bridget and Jenny need anything? Aunt Cornelia asked Nellie. Before Nellie could answer, Miss Fauci exclaimed, Oh, nothing at all. They have warm clothes, good food, and a roof over their heads. They're learning how to make their way in the world as servants. But most important of all, they're learning to be grateful to their betters and to be obedient, hardworking girls. She turned to Nellie and asked, Isn't that so, Nellie? Yes, Miss Fauci, ma'am, said Nellie, looking down at the floor. But most important of all, they're learning to be grateful to their betters. Isn't that so, Nellie? Miss Fauci said. Samantha studied Nellie while Miss Fauci made a long speech about what a fine place the orphanage was. Nellie's hair was chopped short. Her drab brown dress was much too big. It was made out of scratchy material as rough as a potato sack. Nellie looked smaller and thinner than ever. Miss Fauci said she was getting good food, but Samantha could see she definitely wasn't getting enough of it. Nellie, she said in a quiet voice, hoping Miss Fauci wouldn't hear, Look, we brought some things for you and Bridget and Jenny. We brought books and clothes and socks. Samantha began to unpack the valise. We even brought some gingerbread and suddenly Miss Fauci pounced like a tiger and snatched the things away. I'll keep these for Nellie, she said. We don't want the girls eating too much rich food. It's not good for them. And we don't want to spoil them with gifts. It makes them selfish. Isn't that right, Nellie? Nellie looked at Samantha helplessly. Isn't that right, Nellie? Miss Fauci hissed. Her green eyes were narrowed. Yes, Miss Fauci, ma'am, Nellie answered in a whisper. Samantha didn't know what to do. She couldn't touch Nellie with Miss Fauci there. Luckily, Aunt Cornelia understood. Miss Fauci, she said, would you be kind enough to give me a tour of Coldrock House? I'm so interested in your work here. Miss Fauci seemed to puff up with pleasure and pride. Why, of course, she said. Do come with me. Aunt Cornelia smiled and winked at the girls as she followed Miss Fauci from the room. Jiminy, that Miss Fauci is terrible, exclaimed Samantha when she and Nellie were alone. I just know she'll eat that gingerbread all by herself. Nellie grinned, and suddenly she looked like her old self. Oh, Nellie, Samantha said, are you really all right? It's not so bad here, said Nellie. At least we're together. That's the most important thing of all. Are Bridget and Jenny all right? Asked Samantha. Nellie's grin faded. Well, Bridget's not strong. And Miss Fauci thinks she's lazy and scolds her terribly. I try to do Bridget's work for her, but it's hard to fool Miss Fauci. She's everywhere. She's as sneaky as a cat. Samantha squinted her eyes and made a catty face like Miss Fauci's. Perfectly lovely, she mimicked. Nellie tried to hide her giggles behind her hand. Samantha sighed. I wish you three could come to live with Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia and me, she said. No, said Nellie. They've got all the maids they need. They don't want us. Well, then, you could run away from here and hide at Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia's, said Samantha. They never know. You could stay in the attic, and I could take care of you and bring your food and everything. Samantha, interrupted Nellie, you know that would never work. If we ran away, we'd be caught and punished, really punished. Nellie looked very serious. The best thing we can do is to stay here. They're training me to be a maid. Pretty soon they'll find a job for me, and I'll be able to work and take care of Bridget and Jenny. But, Samantha began. Don't you see? Said Nellie. All we've got is one another. Bridget and Jenny and I have to stay together. That's all that matters. Samantha knew she could not change Nellie's mind. Can you at least come visit Uncle Gard and Aunt Cornelia and me? No, said Nellie. Miss Fauci wouldn't let us, but you can visit us here on Sundays. Only for an hour, and with that grouchy Miss Fauci watching us, said Samantha. Oh, well, she sighed. It's better than nothing, and I can bring you things, lots of things, like... Just then, Miss Fauci came back into the room, so the girls had to stop talking. She hardly let them say goodbye before she sent Nellie away. Aunt Cornelia was very quiet on the walk home. Samantha could tell she had not liked what she had seen of Coldrock House. All she said was, "Those poor children." She shook her head and put her arm around Samantha's shoulder to hold her close by her side.